A lot of people have a lot of opinions about gaming's transition from 2D to 3D. Some franchises pulled it off beautifully, others not so much. And I'm not here to dunk on the ones that didn't, by the way. 3D was brand new tech back then. It's not like you can just add another dimension and everything works. What I'm trying to say is, it takes a real genius to take a classic 2D franchise and turn it into a classic 3D franchise. And Tomonobu Itagaki was that kind of genius. You probably know him for Dead or Alive, but he was also the creative force behind the 3D Ninja Gaiden games. Both series have way more depth than people give them credit for, so in honor of Itagaki, may he rest in peace, let's talk about Ninja Gaiden, the first one specifically. Gaiden started life in the late 80s, both in arcades and on the NES, with two versions that have basically nothing to do with each other. In Japan, the game was called Ninja Gaiden, or Legend of the Dragon Ninja Sword. Localizers thought that name was too complicated, so they went with Ninja Gaiden in the US, which literally translates to Ninja Side Story. Does that name make any sense? Not at all, but I guess they figured, it's a Japanese word, it's good enough. The classic games became famous for their brutal difficulty, carving out a place in the memories of all of those who grew up dying repeatedly. Fast forward to the early 2000s, the lawless Xbox era and the height of the console wars. Tecmo had been brought back from near bankruptcy by Dead or Alive, and its lead developer, Tomonobu Itagaki, the only Japanese Xbox fan in existence, decided to reboot Ninja Gaiden for Microsoft's console. Now, Itagaki wasn't just a developer, he was a character, always in sunglasses, leather jackets, and rocking that permanent smirk, like he was about to challenge Hideki Kamiya to a sword fight or something. He had this rock star energy that made him both loved and hated in equal measure. He trash-talked other studios, bragged about his games being for real men, and once said that Dead or Alive was made for men who enjoy beautiful women, while Ninja Gaiden was for players who enjoy conquering challenges. That's basically his design philosophy summed up right there. No holding the player's hand, no compromises, just raw skill, style, and attitude. And that philosophy runs through every single frame of Ninja Gaiden, which is what the series would be called from now on, even in Japan. Wait a minute, you might be saying. What about Ninja Ryukenden? Well, funny enough, Ryu Hayabusa, our protagonist, is also a Dead or Alive character, and both series take place in the same universe. So in a weird twist of fate, this rebooted Ninja Gaiden series really is a ninja side story to DOA. Hats off to the localizers, they accidentally named it perfectly. For this review, I replayed Ninja Gaiden Sigma from the Master Collection. There have been several re-releases, and people love to argue about which one is the best. That's not the debate we're having today. I went with this version because it's easy to access and a solid port overall. I want to play Black too, fellas, but I don't have an Xbox and I couldn't get the emulator to work. Sucks, but what can you do? Anyway, that's enough technical stuff. Let's talk about the story. Ryu Hayabusa is the youngest member of the Dragon lineage, basically a holy bloodline of superpowered ninjas tasked with protecting magic swords. He's training with his uncle Murai when his village is attacked. Get used to that, it happens a lot. Turns out, the village is getting raided by fiends, which is basically the catch-all term for evil supernatural creatures. He teams up with Ayane, yes, the ninja babe from DOA, and swears revenge after his totally not girlfriend Kureha is killed by a fiendish samurai named Doku. From there, Ryu's vengeance takes him to the small European country of Vigur, where he meets fiend hunter and total hottie Rachel, who also becomes playable, but we'll get to that later. The story's not revolutionary, but it doesn't need to be. It's just an excuse for a whole bunch of cool stuff to happen, and that's all Ninja Gaiden ever promises. And that focus on cool extends to pretty much everything. There's that meme that says everything you thought was cool when you were 12 is what is actually cool, and I don't know if the original poster meant that sincerely, but Ninja Gaiden sure does. Tanks, dragons, cyborgs, everything a teenager in the 2000s would call badass is present in this game. The aesthetics also followed that trend, giving us some awesome monster and robot designs. Ryu himself looks super sleek. I don't even need to tell you how much I like Rachel's design, and the soundtrack is appropriately filled with hard rock songs that get the blood pumping. In case it wasn't clear, I love the aesthetics and just the general vibe this game gives off. If you don't think the premise of a super ninja fighting demons with the help of half-naked babes is unironically awesome, I don't think you and I can be friends. There, I said it. But about the Super Ninja, Ryu isn't your quippy protagonist type. He's stoic and focused, like Batman, but doesn't have the beginnings of a no-kill rule, like the Punisher. He's a hero, no doubt about it. He values his friends and family and fights to protect humanity from evil, but he's not afraid to absolutely demolish some fools in that fight. Even during his quote-unquote training at the beginning of the game, neither Ryu nor his enemies are too shy about sticking a blade in somebody's gut. Just goes to show how ruthless this world of ninjas is. It's a subtle but powerful contrast to characters like Dante. You don't get the feeling Ryu's having a lot of fun doing this. He's doing it because it's what he's supposed to do. He was born to prevent Earth from being overtaken by evil, and that's that. He doesn't cry about it, he understands what his destiny is and performs it to the best of his abilities. He only rarely comments on what's going on in the game, but the little bits we get make him out to be an extremely honor-bound individual who just kind of accepts that he either kills his enemies or they kill him. Also, after years of having to endure characters who can't seem to just shut the hell up, it's nice to get a protagonist who just wants to get to the point. Okay, so with all of that out of the way, what's the actual gameplay like? Well, Ninja Gaiden is a 3D beat-em-up in the vein of Devil May Cry or Bayonetta. You got light attacks, heavy attacks, projectiles, and magic called Ninpo. But what really sets this game apart is the essence system. Every enemy drops yellow, blue, or red essence. You can absorb these or channel them into ultimate or obliteration techniques, the game's most powerful attacks. These can also be manually charged by holding down the strong attack, but that takes quite a while longer. This creates constant micro decisions. Do you grab that blue essence for survival or sacrifice it to destroy the enemies faster? Mastering when to do which is the first step towards mastering this game. If you're chasing high ranks, these moves become essential. Ultimate techniques give you massive points, so even elite players can't just ignore them and rely purely on combos. Everyone, from casuals to pros, has to play smart. Speaking of combos, unlike DMC, you're not really meant to switch weapons mid-combo here. Each loadout is basically a build. Maybe you go heavy and slow with shorter charge times for big hits, or maybe you go fast and fragile with damage boosts that make you a glass cannon. All builds are functional, but none of them are ideal in all situations, so you're gonna have to come up with a few and get comfortable with them. As you replay, you start thinking strategically from room to room and changing your build accordingly. Like, okay, this area is full of sorcerers, I better switch to the dragon sword and incendiary shurikens. That evolving sense of foresight is incredibly rewarding. And you're gonna need that strategy, by the way, because these enemies don't wait around. Some people complain that Devil May Cry enemies are too passive, and I don't know if I agree with that, but if you're one of those people, boy do I have a game for you. These guys rush you, grab you, guard crush you, they want you dead, okay? And they're not interested in a one-on-one fight either. Itagaki put it best. They're out to get you just as much as you're out to get them. They're so active and so chaotic that even if you're an experienced player, they're gonna catch you off guard at some point. And that's where things get interesting, because that's when you're gonna have to improvise. The game punishes you for just standing still and blocking all the time. I've seen reviewers complain that you can't get out of grabs, but that's specifically to encourage players to stay on the move. The game doesn't want you to sit still and be reactive. It wants you to be quick and decisive. Bosses range from pretty great, like Murai, Marbus, or Doku, to meh, like the Bone Dragon or the 5 million worms you fight, but they all test your ability to read patterns and stay calm. And then there's the difficulty system. One of the most impressive in any action game, hell, any game I've ever played. No New Game Plus here, you start fresh every time, but every difficulty mode reworks enemy types, item placements, and even encounter setups. I just want to make it clear how insane that is. Normal, hard, very hard, and Master Ninja all feel handcrafted. There's even a unique boss fight on harder modes. Collecting the game's golden scarabs is helpful on normal, but damn near mandatory on hard and above. But it's not unfair, it's just demanding. You're not winning because you're overpowered, you're winning because you're now a better player. And it's not like you're completely helpless either. You can unlock certain relics and alternate costumes that buff you, and those stay even when you start a new game. And before anybody asks, yes, I beat all difficulties. I even got Master Ninja rank on all difficulties. Got all the achievements too. Check my Steam page if you don't believe me. Link in the description. So yeah, I love this game, but I can't call it perfect. It's time, fellas. Let's talk about Rachel. She's strong, she's blonde, and she's slow. The Sigma version adds her as a playable character, but the problem is her levels are mandatory, and they disrupt Ryu's pacing completely. She's only got one melee weapon, one projectile weapon, she has fewer moves, she has less agility, and there's no option to skip her missions. She works fine in ninja trials and survival mode, but in the main story, she kills the momentum. Not even her outfit and Sydney Sweeney-esque curves can save that. Now, I don't want to give the impression that Sigma sucks or anything. I maintain that it's a great version of the game, and it adds some cool extras, such as new relics, new ninja trials, and survival mode. The ninja trials are basically mission mode. You get through specific encounters under unique conditions, like fighting 2 bosses at once, using only projectile weapons, so on and so forth. Survival mode is what it says on the tin. Survive as long as possible under specific circumstances, such as only being able to use one weapon. Both are tons of fun, but only touch them after you've beaten story mode at least once. I mean it. In closing, Ninja Gaiden is one hell of an action game, designed from top to bottom to be 2 things, awesome and trollish. It challenges you to think fast, master its systems, and adapt on the fly. Some players are going to bounce right off of it, but those who persist will find one of the most satisfying action games ever made. It stands proudly besides Devil May Cry 3 and Bayonetta as one of the best action games ever made, and Itagaki earns his spot as one of Japan's most fascinating, most chaotic creative minds ever. Godspeed, you magnificent bastard. Godspeed. Well, that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Because for the next video, we're redoing an old review. That's right. I guess Ninja Gaiden got me in the mood to talk about 3D beat-em-ups because for the next video, it's gonna be a review of Devil May Cry 1. And Devil May Cry 2. God have mercy. See you there.